What is that?
All right, guys, here we go. We are having part 2 with Joe Corey, his interview that we get started. So, Joe, talking to you, where we left off a little bit, tell us, you had owned a store. I thought Robert Ruiz was the only person who owned a clothing store in Whittier. So, you owned a store previously?
Yes, back in the early, late 60s, or the late 60s, come to think about it, married at the time, and Sandy decided she would like to open a clothing store. So basically, we looked at, we were living in Whittier at the time, and we did find a place which was across from Monty's camera shop. And so basically, I rented a place, it was about 1,200 square feet or whatever, and we called it Plaza 100. I did all the designing, my brother and I did all the repairs and whatever, and basically, I don't know whether you guys ever heard of Frederick's of Hollywood, which has all this fancy reputation. Almost on that order, to be very honest with you. We had a lot of fun doing it. She rented for about 2 or 3 years, and then I rented for the second 3 years. And during the second 3 years, I put in a men's section at the same time. Did basically okay, to be honest with you. We had wine bottles and the window or whatever, and it was a lot of fun. We do meet a lot of people, got a lot of propositions, to be very honest with you, but I didn't accept them all. But again, you have to really do your thing to be right, for that particular type of business. But it wasn't what you call totally successful, but I did make money.
So you mean, could you explain a little bit when you say you had a lot of fun doing it?
Well, I would have to go early and do the buying, especially when I was running in the second half. As far as buying men's clothes, I had to buy women's clothes, to be honest with you. And then going to various fashion shows, etc. So that's basically the just meeting people, to be very honest with you. Ever since I came to Whittier, my objective was to meet people. It just felt like that would be a great thing. And consider the fact that I was married for about maybe 8 years. Most of my life is basically being single.
Whoa!
And there's many of you guys that God, you got a great life because I go back and forth to Vegas.
Well, speaking of that, you mentioned when you came to Whittier, you're not originally from Whittier. You were in, well, you lived in Medford, Oregon. Is that
basically born in, I think either Southgate or East LA, one of the two. I can't remember. We did move to Montebello and lived there for a number of years. And prior to that, we lived on the farm for about 2 to 3 years in Medford, Oregon, which is a great experience for anybody that's a teenager or whatever. It's something to learn, and dealing with cows, chickens, and you name it. And then we finally I lived in Montebello, and I got married, and Sandy and I found a place in Whittier.
So you were a farmer for a little bit during your teenage years?
But they do some very, I think I mentioned last time, one thing I did like that we had to do was like kill chickens and kill rabbits. I'll tell you the experience, we had a pet calf, and we raised, and when they got so at the right age, my dad decided to butcher the meat. And for all 6 months when we had meat on the table, none of us would touch it. He would go, look like Marty.
So is that where your love for horses came from as well?
Let's hear it. We want to get the horses.
Well, let's come back to that a little bit. Yeah, we'll come back to that. So you were in Medford, Oregon, and came over here in Whittier, and then you went to the Navy?
Now, I joined the Navy for basically 4 years. World cruise. I don't know what I mentioned last time, but I did make a world cruise, to be honest with you. And with a destroyer tender called the Prairie, and visit a lot of places. It was able to even visit my uncle, aunts, and whatever in South America. That was a stop that we had to take an arrow for one of the stops that we had, to be honest with you. And, that was a lot of fun.
You were an electrician?
Electronic technician, and then my last year was in Phoenix, Arizona.
So how long did you stay on that world cruise on the ship? Just like your crew?
Probably maybe about 6 or 8 months, something like that, 9 months or whatever. It was, I don't want to go into details, but I was very fortunate, or unfortunate, as the case may be. At the time that the world cruise was going to start, I was home on emergency leave basically, and I led the ship and stayed home for about a week or two because of my mom. And then the ship started to make the world cruise. And so I had to catch up with it. So I was ready to catch up with San Pedro, Hawaii, Wake Island, Japan, and that's actually the south part of Japan, and thereafter around the world.
That is.
Yeah, it was a big trip, let me tell you, it was a great, great trip.
So that's your time in the Navy. So you were in the Navy for how many years?
4 years.
4 years. And then what was your ranking when you went in and when you came out?
ET1. And I did a little lot of which you might bring up later.
Okay. So electronic technician, what is that? What is that?
Basically, you're in charge of fixing the radar, all the electronic devices, and that stuff. And fortunately, on a tender, it's almost like gravy. You have maybe, I say the crew, when it comes to electronic technicians, so there was maybe 10 of us, basically, and we had to do the shop up there, and we covered duty and all that good stuff.
Okay. Well, let's talk about your civilian life and how you got started in property management. We have some property managers here. And,
What's what do you mean by that?
speak a little closer to the microphone.
Oh, okay, I'll just go closer.
There you go.
Okay, very good. Well, thanks a lot.
So tell us about property management, how you got started in property
Okay, I think I
management.
told you last time about my experience as an engineer, with Polaris and shuttle, whatever. And when I left the shuttle, and at that time, engineers were buying a dozen. So I thought I might need to change my career a little. I had a friend that was in real estate, so I got my real estate license. Worked with this company for about a year, and which was okay. It wasn't my thing that I really liked. Sandy at the time was working as a secretary for beneficial standard properties in West LA. And basically, I don't know how this worked out, but she was able to get me a meeting with the vice president there to manage some projects. And so basically, it had to do with 6 efficiencies of hotels. And you can run by the day, the week, the month, or whatever. 2 located in Orange County, and 2 in Almani and 1 in Pasadena. So I stayed with them for about a year, and until they finally sold the properties, and actually they sold the properties to people that wanted. There were two brothers, in the world. I'm the brother wanted to take my job, so actually I got laid off, and I thought, when that door closed, another door opened for me, because I thought, geez, let me see if I can get a job in property management. I got good information for a resume, so I prepared a good resume, sent that out, and I think I may have looked at the headline, it helps you find a job. Got a job in Alhambra at a real estate property management company. I was with them for about maybe 2.5 years. They made basically apartments and homes and whatever, and he had some properties of his own. And then I brought in about 3 or 4 different condominiums at the time, so built up his revenue. I was able to get back 3 or 4 of those projects that he had because they wanted me to run the projects for them instead of on a realtor. And also during that time, shortly thereafter that he laid me off, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 months, the general manager got fired, and then they wanted to hire me back, and I said, no, I've got my own business, I'll come back and help you for a week or 2 to need some help. Other than that, that's it.
And how long did you continue hunting management?
Oh, until 3 years ago, to be honest with you, it was a very successful business. I hired my brother for maintenance work, I hired my nephew for maintenance work, I hired 2 nephews for maintenance work, I hired my 2 sisters to do office work. We were basically very successful, and I also had the J.F. Corey real estate management, managing, units, not working or whatever. And I did get my contractor's license, my notary, and actually a broker's license. So I had all the great information, and it was probably, in my opinion, one of the greatest moves I've ever made, which I go back and thank my ex-wife. And I just want to leave a message: don't ever get mad at your ex-wife when you leave.
The part of this story which stands out to me the most is probably that part, is that your ex-wife is the one who referred him and to the manager, basically, and said, hey, she vouched for you.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's, you're fortunate because that can't happen for a lot of people.
Basically, we have stayed friends all these years. We had a good separation, to be very honest with you. It worked out very well. We are going to go back on vacations to see her mother and family in Erie, Pennsylvania, even when we were divorced, we were there. And so it was a very good, basically a very good separation, to be honest with you.
Good. Well,
That was, you guys know now, but most of you guys know, I've been going back and forth to Vegas for the last 25 years.
every other week you go to Vegas, right? To go back over there. Okay. Well, speaking of experiences, tell us a little bit about some of your experiences with, let's say, beauty contests.
Oh, you know, basically.
Yeah, like Miss Arizona.
Yeah, basically, when I was in the Navy, some of us sailors became escorts for the Miss Arizona contest. And I was one of the escorts with the scouts. And basically, she won third place, but I also got to go the person that won first place, and the queen of the previous year. And I took off a copy when they were there. That was a great experience from that standpoint, yeah.
And then, let me just name off a few here. You can add in maybe some stories that you remember or anything that stands out. You were a judge for the Miss Arcadia contest at the Rose Parade.
Yeah, right. I was asked to be a judge for Miss Arcadia for the Rose Parade, and that was a lot of fun, to be honest with you. Trying to think what else I did.
And then you have Miss Whittier. You were a judge for Miss Whittier.
As well.
Right.
I got to know the person that won, actually invited me to the wedding, you know, and she got to know her parents, you know, it was great.
And then there was one here that stood out to me as well, the volunteers. It was, you were also a model at one point.
Let me tell you, I'm the kind of guy that couldn't say no to anything anybody wanted to ask me, to be very honest with you. It's not that I wanted to be a lion, I wanted to be this or whatever, but you know, okay, I did want to be a lion. Basically, there was a couple things that happened. This one lady, I can't think of her name right now, she had a sort of agency here, and that was the mother of the daughter that was Miss Whittier, so you know. And she had put on a lot of modeling shows in Whittier at the WHLC Center. And various other places. And say, I'm sure maybe some of you guys might have gone to some of them on the chamber of football together, city industry. Smart. Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this. And so basically, they asked me, and I said, yeah, fine, I did it. And I enjoyed it, to be honest with you. Two of the big things I think I did relative to run, this was the one at the city of industry. And that was when I guess the final thing that I wore was a white tuxedo. And I thought, God, I look great in that, you know. The other thing I did at a big function, and I don't know, it wasn't part of the script, I'll have to be honest with you. I wore a bathrobe, and as I was modeling the bathrobe, I had shorts and I opened it up, you know, so they could see my body. That was not part of the script, but I got a lot of laughs away.
A little flash.
Yeah.
Flash in the audience. All right. All right. Let's kind of move towards talking about the club, and tell us about your relationship with Bruce Martin.
Okay, with Bruce Martin, after I became chamber president in '86, '87, Chamber of Commerce, and Bruce was the executive director of the Whittier Chamber. He was the kind of guy that put you out in front wherever you went. You will probably never see that guy in any photo or whatever. And so I joined the chamber, and then in a very short time, basically I got the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and that was the same time I was president of the Lions Club at the same time. And a lot of things that we did with Bruce was we would go to Washington, D.C. a couple times with a few board members, did the same thing with the Capitol, Sacramento. And I went to almost every opening or whatever, stores opening or anniversaries or whatever. And one thing Bruce always said afterwards, even to the time that he was in the Lions Club, and even maybe 3 weeks prior to him getting sick, he always would tell me and say, Joe, we made a good team, didn't we? And I guess we did, because he really believed in it. And we did make a great team. And really respect the fact that a comment like that came from Bruce, and he would tell me, I don't think 50 or 100 times between 86, 87, and maybe just 2 or 3 weeks before he went into the hospital warfare.
Yeah, Chris Martin, he was involved everywhere in Whittier. That's nice to hear that relationship that you have with him. I'm just going to list some of the boards, some of the committees that you've been on, and I'm going to ask you some direct questions about the Lions Club. You've been on the Parking and Transportation Commission, the PIH Foundation as a treasurer, Fred C. Nellis Advisory Committee when they were still operating, the Whittier Rose Parade Float, the Whittier Red Cross Board, Hospital Advisory here at PIH, the YMCA as a treasurer, Good Scout Committee, and the Bank of Whittier Board. Also the Uptown Whittier Association Parade Committee as well. So those are a lot of boards that you've been on. So it's obvious that you'd like to be involved with the club. When did you start with the Lions Club?
Okay, back in 1980, I don't know, some of you knew Bob Preston. And at that time, I was interested in getting involved with people, and Bob Preston said, join the Lions Club. The first one, I was sort of a guest, and it was at the hotel, the Whittier Hotel, or whatever it was called, Whittier.
William Penn.
William Penn, thank you. And then when I went there at this meeting, sort of as a guest, I thought, I don't really want to join the club. They keep finding people. I have to give them money all the time, you know? And so, but as time went by, and when I had my store, that's when I recognized, at the time, to get involved with the Williams Lions Club. And let me tell you, to me, that's one of the best moves that I think I've ever made. Basically, the first thing I did was got involved with being social chairman, got involved with the horse show, which I attended the horse show, every horse show we had until the end, to be honest with you. We had a cycling center, which was on Team Philly, and once a month it would be there, and I attended that as long as we had it. The horse show was great from the standpoint that it was just meeting with people and all that good stuff, and then when I did become president, and after that, the only job that I really had was, giving out trophies and whatever. But during the last maybe 2, 3, or 4 years, I can't remember, to be honest with you, they wanted me to be one of the announcers in the main arena. Because I've been doing a lot of announcing with the parade and whatever, and other things that I've done in life. And I really enjoyed that. And I thought, God, when they saved a lot of money, they did not pay me for doing that. They saved a lot of money. But it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know why I enjoy it, but I really enjoy it.
You enjoyed announcing because he was the voice and face of the Whittier Parade for many years, kind of like the KTLA with.
No, it's actually local TV.
Yeah,
Channel.
Yeah, it was the local TV though. The local TV.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So when were you president?
86, 87.
86, 87.
Both the Lions Club and the Chamber.
So before you became president, or right around that time, or right around that time, what was the biggest project that you guys worked on that maybe stood out to you, that made you think like, yeah, I'm glad I made the right choice, I'm in the right place?
Well, when I was Chamber president, my thing was we make it happen. And my goal at that time, for one, was I wanted to see median strips on Whittier Boulevard with planted trees or whatever. I don't take credit for it. I want you to know that was my goal. And I'm sure the city and whatever else it did was able to do that for whatever reason. And I thought, gee, Whittier Boulevard is such a great place, and why don't we improve that so it really becomes something that you think about when you go down the road. And at my time, that was an idea that I had, but I never pursued it. I was going to get pagodas every 2 or 3 blocks along that strip, and somebody, like a business paying for it with their name on it or something like that. Just to be very unique, but I never pursued that.
Okay. Tell us some of you must have started right around the same time as Frank Hill. 1980?
Yeah.
So, tell us some of the people that were influential, some of the good memories you had. Name some people from the time that you were president or around that time that stood out to you. You remember that you were.
Okay. Basically, on one of the trips we took back to Washington D.C., I did get a picture with President Gerald Ford at the time. Also, I went to governor came down one time, I got pictures of Governor George Virginia, Senator Campbell, Dave Dwyer. And again, Bruce was the type of guy that put you out in front. And he's the one that sort of made my life just great, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I never did get a picture with Frank Hill when he was in there.
Oh, we can still make that happen. So why did you stay after so many years? Why do you stay with the Lions Club?
Well, let me tell you, as a Lion, like I said, I started out and I also became zone chairman twice and regional chairman twice. And I did not want to be district governor. Not that I was asked, to be honest with you, but I had no desire because I had any business. And I look back at a lot of the great functions that we did. We were, back in the early days, and that's because, well, back when I was president, we had over 200 some odd members in our club. And at my meetings, at most of my meetings, not every one, we had over 200 members at our meeting every Thursday. And I think I was probably brought into that picture at that time. I was lucky because that was just before the earthquake, which naturally we lost a lot of businesses. Prior to the earthquake, we had 800 people in the Chamber of Commerce. And so we look at the time, and I don't take credit for all that, but I was in these positions at the time of all these great events that were happening or not happening in the world. And so it sort of made me feel pretty good. And that's why I said I really had a great time all these years that I've been around. I think it was very positive. And when I look back at most of my life, when one door closed, another door opened. And if you make the right decision, and even you can go back and see if you did that, no, you always made the right decision.
Do you ever say no to anything?
Oh, brother.
You were going to say no.
Well, I'm sure I have, but I don't think there's anything I should talk about.
All right. Well, let's in wrapping this up today. Well, let me just get a show of hands. Who's been on more than 2 boards at one time? I know I have. Yeah. 3 boards? More than 3 boards? No. More than 3 boards? More than 4 boards at one time? 3 boards. Okay. So Joe, all right. So wrapping this up here. If this was your last Lions Club meeting, what would you want to say to the guys? What would you want to say to our members?
Well, let me say this. First, even though I was talking about over 200 members, it's not really the quantity, it's the people themselves. And even though we're down quite a bit, all of you guys are great. I want you to know that. My encouragement for anybody that gets involved is get involved. Just because you attend the luncheon, you're really not totally involved. There are committees that you can get involved in. Keep in mind that back when I was, during my time in the presidency, whatever, we had these conventions, 4L2. The greatest one we had as a club was going to the 4L2 convention. You did your family, your kids, and whatever. Great times. There's the multiple district convention, which was so. And then there was the international convention. And when you get back to 402, I went to almost every one, even up to almost maybe 15 years ago. And I did go to the many international conventions, but what I did was I combined that with a vacation in the general area. So you sort of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And I just think get involved. And also, when you do try to get new members, at least as far as I'm concerned, just so you know, try to make a commitment to them that when you do join, come to the meeting. Because when I said we had about over 200 members, well, in the Alliance Club, 200 of them came to the meeting almost every Thursday, or close to 200. And so that's my encouragement to you. Get the members, see if you can get a commitment that they attend every Thursday meeting.
Thank you, Joe, for that. I just want to wrap this up and just say, as Joe is now our oldest member, not oldest membership member. member, but our oldest standing member. Just wanted to acknowledge that. And as a UCLA graduate, an engineer, a businessman, I just want to thank you for your service to the club, to the community, and thank you all, gentlemen, here today for giving us your time and your ear for a joke today. Thank you.